Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here with Build Up the Church. This is a devotional word for July 10th, 2024, out of the book of Acts, chapter 17. Paul has just left Berea. He was once again chased out of town by those who were opposing the message of Jesus Christ. He left Silas and Timothy behind for a time to continue on with the work. He went to Athens to wait for them, and we pick up the story in Acts chapter 17, verse 16. Now, while Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was provoked within him when he saw that the city was given over to idols. And that phrase given over means that it was just full of idols. Athens was past her prime as a leading city in the world, but still very prominent, full of culture, full of thinking, full of philosophy, full of arts. And so it was a very modern city, a very metropolitan city. But Paul, as he walked around the town, saw that there were idols everywhere. The people believed in anything and everything. Verse 17, therefore he reasoned in the synagogue with the Jews and the Gentile worshippers. So that was his methodology. He'd go first to the synagogue where he would receive an opportunity to preach Christ from the Old Testament. That was the custom of the day. But he also went into the marketplace daily and reasoned with those who happened to be there. So Paul didn't restrict himself to church. He was out in public. Verse 18, then certain Epicurean and Stoic philosophers encountered him, and some said, what does this babbler want to say? This was a new message they hadn't heard before. Others said he seems to be a proclaimer of foreign gods because he preached to them Jesus and the resurrection. And they took him and brought him to the Areopagus, saying, may we know this new doctrine of which you speak, for you are bringing some strange things to our ears. Therefore we want to know what this means. Now notice verse 21. For all the Athenians and foreigners who were there spent their time in nothing else but to tell or hear some new thing. They love to talk. They love to wax eloquent, as some would say. They love to talk about philosophy and compare this idea to that idea. And so Paul was just kind of a new stream of thought for them. Paul was a new challenge. Paul was a new voice. Paul was a new personality to them. But notice that Paul had been doing his homework. He was ready to speak to these people. Then Paul stood in the midst of the Areopagus and said, men of Athens, I perceive that in all things you are very religious. Now notice this verse, very important for us. For as I was passing through and considering the objects of your worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. Therefore, the one whom you worship without knowing, him I proclaim to you, God who made the world and everything in it. Are you a Christian? And as a Christian, are you a bridge builder or a wall builder? Jesus, I want to submit to you, was a bridge builder. He stepped out of his world into our world. If you will, Jesus was the first missionary in the highest, most pure sense of the idea. Paul here was not a wall builder, he was a bridge builder. He tried to reach people, and he would preach in the synagogue where they had a commonality of believing the Old Testament, but he would also go out into the marketplace, into public, and he would read and notice and listen and think and be aware of what other people around him believed about God or about philosophy or about life or about the meaning of life, all of these ideas. Paul was aware, and he took in this information so that when he had the opportunity, he could speak to people from where they were at. And in that sense, he was a bridge builder. He wasn't asking them to build a bridge and come to him. He was building a bridge and going to them. Paul started his message. He says, God who made the world and everything in it. Paul didn't start off with a Bible study. He started off just with the obvious. And he worked his way up to the resurrection of Jesus, and they cut him off at that point because they thought it was foolishness. But some of the people did believe, and others went to inquire from him and talk to him one-on-one. Listen, Christian, may I encourage you, don't shut yourself in from the world. Yes, we have to be careful out in the world, but we do no good to people when we huddle together within the confines of the church and keep to ourselves. As a pastor, I'll be the first one to say it's important to be in church and to have fellowship with one another, to learn from one another, to comfort one another, to challenge one another. Absolutely important. The Bible mandates it, in fact. Let us not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And so, yes, church, but yes, also get out in the marketplace. I want to encourage you and ask you, what what is your what is the bridge that you're working on building right now into somebody's life? Is it a neighbor? Fine, then just go next door, strike up a conversation, help them do some yard work, any number of things. Is it people on your pickleball team or other parents out at the soccer field as you're watching your kids play soccer? Are you building bridges? Are you aware of what's going on in the world? Are you reading some of the magazines at the racks at the supermarket so you can understand the current stream of thinking among the culture that you live in? I want to encourage you. Read the Quran. Read books about Buddhism. Listen to what you might consider liberal talk radio. Understand what people are saying so that you can speak their language. When they say something, you know where they're coming from, and you don't really have to waste time asking them necessarily to define their terms or explain what they mean. You understand how they're thinking because you're paying attention, and you just start building that bridge and meet them where they're at. Jesus was a bridge builder. The Apostle Paul was a bridge builder. Every great missionary that's ever lived has been a bridge builder. Every great Bible teacher has been a bridge builder. Are you a bridge builder or a wall builder? I hope a bridge builder. So, some things for you to think about. God bless you. Thanks.